Well, welcome everyone. Thomas Montgomery. I'm with Smart Money Alliance, a nonprofit organization, and we're excited to have the opportunity to visit with you for a few minutes about accessing capital. There's no doubt that most small businesses, whether they be pre-launch, startup, or existing, want to need additional capital. It's rare that we can find a business model that allows us to generate as much excess cash flow as needed to reach our potential. So most small businesses will need some sort of outside capital to either start, grow, and or reach their potential. Of course, that capital could come from debt-based financing, money that we borrow that we promise to pay back later, or equity-based capital, money that is injected into our company that isn't directly repaid. What we're going to do is we're going to spend a few minutes today and we're going to talk about some tips and secrets and tricks of the trade of accessing capital, some things that I don't think that you'll find controversial, but it may not be necessarily topics that you find familiar. And we're also going to dovetail in and talk about some resources that are available through our grant subsidized programming. So we're going to kind of combine those two topics over the next few minutes, the programming that we offer and how to access capital. I'm working off of our homepage here, smartmoneyalliance.org. You should see on your screen. And as I go to the Capital Ready package page, this is our flagship program. This program was developed by SBA and SBDC advisors, SCORE mentors, business bankers, and even college professors, designed to provide a transparent, proven, and an effective model to help any small business access at least $100,000 of capital. Now, we understand that some small businesses need more than $100,000, so that's not a ceiling, but that is a floor. This model will work 100% of the time in raising at least $100,000. Now, at your convenience, you could go in and watch this YouTube video that's at the top of the page. I won't bore you with that, but I'll give you a few of the highlights and also some of the strategies that we use so you can learn from that. What we need to do if we're going to raise capital for a small business is first we need to figure out what the right source of capital is for that small business based upon their mitigating circumstances. So based upon their unique needs, wants, and position. Secondly, we need to meet the underwriting criteria. If we do those two things, we can always access capital, figure out the right source of capital, and meet the underwriting criteria. So there's a process to do that. The process that we follow is we start with a lender compliant loan package. And this works for investors as well. So a loan if we want debt, an equity or investor-based package if we want an injection that we don't have to pay back. So this is going to include a number of elements. It's going to include the business plan that articulates what we do, how much we charge, who our competition is, who our target audience is. We're going to incorporate in financial projections because while these are good elements for you as a business owner to have, it's crucial to be able to demonstrate the source of capital, the lender or the investor, that we know, we've thought about our business, and it projects out to be profitable. So we'll put together an income statement, a balance sheet, a cash flow statement. We're going to incorporate all those elements that are necessary to be able to get funding. And we'll normally get that knocked out in less than 30 days. So it's very quick, but we'll talk about timing in a moment. I know for myself, I used to work, when I came out of graduate school with my MBA, I worked for Deloitte and Touche, now it's referred to as Deloitte. We did capital raise strategies for very large businesses. I worked for the SBA up through July 5th of last year. We did loan packages for small businesses. And then I was a college professor most recently teaching these same or similar topics to full-time credit earning students. What often isn't understood by the typical small business is how to get the desired result. We might just say, well, I just want funding. And if you just want a personal loan, then great, just go down to your bank and apply for an uncollateralized personal loan. But if we're looking for business loans, business funding that's under the EIN of the business, we're going to need, in almost all circumstances, a loan package. So that's what we start with. That helps really articulate how much capital do we need and what are we going to use it for, because those are important details that determines where we should go after the capital. So that's one of the 4 elements. Secondly, it's important to be aware of your business credit profile. There's a number of reasons why that's important. The outside world can look at your business credit profile without your permission, and in many cases, lenders or investors will before extending capital to you. So you most likely already have a profile, but it's probably not optimized. We need to be aware of our Dun & Bradstreet profile. From Dun & Bradstreet, we get a PAYDEX score. We need that score to be an 80 or above. If yours is not an 80 or above, that's a red flag. That's a barrier to accessing capital. We need to be aware of our Experian IntelliScore profile. Again, it needs to be a score above 80. And if it's not, again, that's another red flag or derogatory. So that's part of what we've packaged in the Capital Ready program, Capital Ready package, is to help small businesses understand business credit and build their business credit. And that's about a $3,000 value on its own. Now, while we want to emphasize business funding that typically is under the EIN, if you are needing assistance optimizing your personal credit, we can provide some guidance there as well. We're not a credit repair company, don't want to be one, but in terms of helping you improve your personal credit, if that is needed, based upon the loan package that we've created, we can assist you with that. And we're big into financial literacy, teaching, because most of our society has not been properly prepared to be a successful small business owner. We can without doubt get you $100,000. There's no question there. That's what this program does. But what we really want to do is get you the 100,000 plus and help you be successful and stay in business. So we have a number of financial literacy topics that's built in, and I'll talk about those more in a second. With the Capital Ready package, instead of having an upfront fee, there's only a deposit, which is fully refundable. People love that. And we also have some other options, which I'll go through. I did mention the $100,000 guarantee. You might say, well, I don't need $100,000. Then this might not be the right program for you. We have some other resources that don't have that guarantee and that don't expect you to work with us to reach that level. That's how the grant is written. We have to demonstrate that we help clients reach at least $100,000. Again, that's not the maximum or the ceiling. That's the minimum for us to get the grant subsidy. The timeline for going through the Capital Ready program is important for you to understand. You would start by filling out the inquiry form that's here at the bottom of the page, just putting in your name, your email, your telephone. The top check, if you're interested in receiving the participation agreement, which is bullet 2, we'll send that over to you via DocuSign. Of course, everything's in writing and crystal clear. We are also looking for more help. We're growing very quickly. A lot of small businesses need capital right now. And so if you would be interested in helping teach and advise small businesses using our curriculum, you can click that second button. And you can do both or either one. If there's a message you want in a referral source, you can put that in. So in summary, you would fill out the inquiry form here. We'll quickly get you the DocuSign to execute. Within 1 to 2 days after that, we're going to be rolling up our sleeves and putting together that loan package. We need a loan package to understand what the right source or sources of capital are and specifically how much capital we're looking for. Many small businesses come to us and they'll just kind of shoot off the hip, off the cuff with some roundabout number. But we typically can't go borrow some about number. We need to be able to articulate the exact amount we need and how we're going to use it. So we're going to get that going right away. Our participants benefit from weekly support calls, and it can be a webinar if you want. So every week there's a dedicated support person working with you to make sure that you're on track, that your questions are answered, and that we're on track, as well as unlimited email support. So very high level of support. ultimately, within about 30 days, we should have that loan package created, and we can go to funding, because that's what's necessary to take to the bank or to take to the investor for funding. Now, if there's an inconsistency, so if the amount of capital that you want and the type of capital that you're best suited for is something that you're not fully qualified for yet, that's okay. It's not an all or nothing, a yes or no proposition. Instead, at that point, we can start working with you to resolve any issues. So again, I encourage you after the webinar to go ahead and fill this out. So let's summarize this page before we move on, because if you're listening carefully, you're not just understanding what we do in helping you with the Capital Ready package, we're describing why. As a college professor, I always encourage my college students to ask the question, why? Why is it like that? Why does it work that way? And so you might be thinking, well, why is the Capital Ready package built this way? Well, hopefully after we've discussed, we've shared with you why it's so important to start with a loan package. You might say, well, I know my credit's not so good, my business credit or my personal credit. Why don't we start there? Why is it in this order? Well, frankly, we want to do the least amount of work in the least amount of time to get the desired outcome. There are some business loans that we can get, for example, with a 575 personal credit score. So is better credit better? Sure. But if all that we need, for example, is a 575 personal credit score, that's really what we need to be laser focused on, because that's good enough to get the first round of funding. Alternatively, if we're going after a larger loan, like an SBA loan, we know that we need a 165 FICO, and it falls under a different algorithm. It's called SBSS. So getting a 166 isn't worth extra time, extra effort. We need to get a 165. So you see the point. We need to get good enough to get the desired results. To spend extra time and energy to get better than good enough is not a good use of your time or energy. So that's why we start with the loan package. All right, so moving on through, we do have some literacy topics. Our branch managers go out and teach a variety of topics, churches, community centers, apartment complexes, and you can see at your convenience some of the personal financial literacy topics. And then we spend a lot of time on business financial literacy. And I made reference to that a moment ago. If you remember, in the Capital Ready package, what's included is improving the likelihood that participants will be financially successful after the funding. We can get you the capital. There's no question. We guarantee it. What we want to do is make sure that you get the capital and that you use it wisely and prosper. We do also have kind of an entry point program that may be of value to you, maybe of assistance to you. And it is where we build the loan package. So we're just building the loan package. We're not building out the business credit profile. We're not assisting with the personal credit. There is no capital raise guarantee, but we can certainly start by walking before we run. And you can see here the details of all that's included in the package. Now, again, this is the same package that's created in the Capital Ready package as it is here. So again, we're going to create a one-page pitch sheet, kind of that elevator, 30-second intro that has everything summarized in just one page. The executive summary, which is different than the one page. The one page is one page, stands on its own. The executive summary is a summary of the entire business plan. We're going to go through and do a thorough opportunity description. So again, if you want to do this on your own, you can do this and just go down to your own bank on your own. If you need assistance, we can help you with it. But I'm outlining now in detail what needs to be in your loan package, because if you don't have a complete loan package, you have a much less reduced likelihood of getting funding. So we need to identify what's the problem. So not what our problem is, but what's the problem in the marketplace? Why is there a gap or a void that needs to be filled? So we articulate that. And then our solution, how do we fill that gap or that void? How are we different? How are we meeting customers' needs that's not being met currently? Because if all we want to do is do something that's readily already available, that is certainly less attractive to investors, and then that's going to be less convincing to lenders, because that reduces your likelihood of success if you're just a me too type of company. We need to articulate who our target market is. We can't afford to market to every American, right? There's over 300 million Americans, and if we have if we can't prioritize and we just have to market to everyone, that would require a huge budget. We need to know who our target market is. That doesn't mean that we're discriminatory, that we wouldn't sell to any client that wants to buy our product or service, but we do need to know who our target market is. And we need to do a competitive analysis. So these are all elements that's included in the packages that we build, whether it be here in the 4-week Access to Capital program or through our flagship Capital Ready. Additionally, we need to have the execution section, which talks about our marketing plan, our sales plan, our operations plan, and then we start putting together key milestones, key date triggers. We need to include company information. Who are the owners of our business? Is it just you? Are there others? Typically, anyone that has 20% or more ownership, they're going to have greater involvement with the capital raise process. Who's our management team? And I realize in the beginning, we may be a small business of one, but ultimately we need to identify and understand that there is going to be a difference over time, at least, usually, of who the owners are and who the management team is. And then do we have any advisors? Advisors include our CPA, our attorney, our business banker. We'd love to be one of your advisors as well, of course, going through this process. To no surprise, lenders or investors want to know, well, what does the future look like? Is this going to be profitable or unprofitable? How long is it going to take? Are we going to have cash burn for the first few months or even the first few years like Uber and Lyft have? So we have to state what our key assumptions are, our revenue projections, our expense projections, and of course, the difference between those two is our profitability. How are we going to use those funds? What we can't do is just go say, yeah, I'll just take that 100,000. That'll be great. I'll make great use of it. No, we have to be able to articulate what are we going to use that 100,000 for, and how's that going to help our business? And then, of course, sources of funds where that money is going to come from. We need to have in our loan package financial statements, and there's 3 primary financial statements. I taught accounting both at the high school and the college level. And so if you've taken classes like that or have worked in the industry, you know that there's an income statement that shows profit and loss, balance sheet that shows assets, liabilities, and owner's equity, and the very important cash flow statement. That's going to be part of what we're putting together in this 30-day period. So it's available both as a management tool to you, but more specifically here as a validation tool to the lender or the investor. What we incorporate in is industry-specific benchmarking, because if we come out and project much higher profitability than what our industry has overall, that's a red flag. We're going to really have to be able to defend why our business model is twice as profitable as everyone else in the industry. It's possible if you have some strong competitive advantage, but in general, we should be within the range of the industry. If we're going to start a new trucking firm, for example, or a new laundromat, or whatever the business may be, chances are we probably should have similar financial projections to other trucking companies or laundromats, respectively. If we don't, we either need to defend why we're so much better, or we're probably not properly preparing for reality. And we can even create a dashboard and integrate in your QuickBooks data or however you track your revenue and expenses, your deposits and payments. So it's not only a static business plan and financial projections, but it's an ongoing management tool. So specifically, those are things that you need to know, and you can work with us and we can help you do it, or you can do it on your own. But this is a pretty good checklist. If you don't have this in place, in our opinion, you're probably not prepared for business funding. Now, again, if all you want is a personal loan, just go down to your bank and apply for a personal loan. But if we're running to get business funding under the EIN of the business, this is crucial information, crucial knowledge. Now, once we have this done in the 4-week Access to Capital, then we put together a capital match. And you'll see some additional information here, including a number of lenders and banks that we work with that will do funding under the EIN of the business. All right, so we covered the Capital Ready package, and we just went through the 4-week access to capital, went into more detail here of what's in the package. And again, this package is also included in the Capital Ready program. We do have a specific and unique offering for getting an SBA Express loan. I think I mentioned to you that I worked for the SBA up through July 5th of last year, and our co-founders all came from that background. So we believe that SBA 7A Express loans are one of the most overlooked and underutilized sources of capital. It's available to new start businesses, so there's no minimum time in business. The credit score requirements are pretty low. Interest rates are low because they're regulated by the federal government, so they're low compared to most sources of capital. Payments are low because it's financed over a 10-year, 120-month period. Up to 150,000 working capital, funded typically in 15 days. So I'm not here to say that this is the best solution for your individual circumstances, but I can tell you that it's a very, very attractive source of capital that might be just part of your overall capital raise. So we have a specific program that's just laser focused on that, and you can go through and see more information there. As I mentioned, we're big into financial literacy and teaching and educating. And so we're working with our branch managers all across the country to set up these access to capital workshops. In this case, we spend usually 6 to 8 hours together today in a given day, but all the participants literally build their business plan and financial projections in that day, so they're ready to go to funding day 2. So it accelerates it. And a lot of us get busy, so taking a day away from work and family is not easy, but we get it done. We focus and we get it done versus it dragging out, which it would take a month through the 4-week access to capital program. So keep an eye if you might be interested in attending or even facilitating these workshops. We love to work with churches and chambers and co-working spaces, business organizations, and others that are the host. And then we come in and we teach the curriculum. So it's a great way to help small businesses in the community. Career opportunities is not the focus of our topic today, but we did receive a workforce grant that provides a free certification curriculum. You can access that here. We have a full-time education coordinator on staff. Her name's Jennifer. She'll walk with you through that. So there's not a cost. There's no strings attached to go through that. And I think that'd be very helpful. And there's a YouTube training on that. We also, as I mentioned earlier, are developing branch offices. We're actually in the process of opening 1,000 branch offices across the country. So we have local resources and support in each community. There's information on economic modeling and the actual onboarding packet for new branch managers. So again, we're very transparent. All of that's for the world to see. And then also our leadership team is composed of regional directors. We're adding regional directors, and there's information there. So that may not be of your interest. I'm not trying to distract you, but just explaining the resources that are available. We did receive grant funding to do free funding proposals for small businesses. So it's when they're not involved with anything else. All they simply are looking is for a free funding proposal, and that is accessed from that tab. And then our address here. We're in the beautiful community of Mineola, Texas. It's East Texas, not too far from Dallas, Fort Worth, and just a bit farther from Houston, Texas. And we're in a historic small town. We were invited in. We actually office within a chamber of commerce. We occupy their entire second floor. All of our full-time staff are here physically, typically Monday through Friday. So with that being said, we wanted to take a few minutes this morning to accomplish 2 things, and hopefully we've done it well. Number 1 is to help you understand some grant subsidized resources that's available for small businesses to access capital. And secondly, what we wanted to do is to teach you some key concepts, theories, strategies, things that you need to know that if you're going to access capital. So let's review those before we finish today. Number 1 is it's crucial to understand what the right type of capital is for your mitigating circumstance. It's just like if you wanted to buy a home. There's many different types of home mortgages, FHA and USDA and others. Well, that's why you need to know what the right type of mortgage is based upon your circumstances. How many acres is the property? What's the cost of the property? How much money do you make? How much money do you have to put down? That's a great analogy because those variables also apply to where we're going to get your business funding. And then secondly, of course, we need to meet the underwriting criteria. Same for getting a mortgage for a home. We need to meet the underwriting criteria to get business funding, whether it be debt-based or equity-based. If we do those two things, it's a hole in one. It's a guaranteed proposition. Right type of capital based upon your circumstances, meet the underwriting criteria. So hopefully you've learned some educational topics about what it takes to be capital ready, and also in closing, how our capital ready program might be a valuable resource to assist you. If there are any questions that you have, you can go ahead and put it in the Q&A box. We can read those off here briefly, and then we'll wrap up. All right, Crystal, thank you for your question. She's asking again about how much time, how long does it take? And so we need to start in almost every circumstance, Crystal, with building a loan package. And we can do that through the Capital Ready program or even the standalone 4-week. Normally, it's a 30-day process to complete that. However, if you attend one of our workshops, and frankly, you can be one of our hosts and you'll get to be able to participate for free. But the point is, with the workshop environment, we do it in one day because we're just all focused. We don't have any distractions. We're not multitasking. We just knock it out in a day. I was in Chicago this past week and did it for a group, worked with a group of small businesses. But normally, Crystal, the answer to your question is 30 days to build out the loan package, rather it being in either of these. If we're doing the SBA Express program, we can compress that down to about 15 days and then apply for funding around day 16. And then the goal would be to actually get funded within an entire 30-day process. Great question, Crystal. Who else has any questions regarding what we've gone through? All right, Carolyn's asking a little bit about building business credit. And yes, Carolyn, so that's included in what we do here. We talked about that briefly on number 2. It is so important that you recognize that your business needs to be treated, Carolyn, as a separate entity, right? It has its own EIN, just like you have a social security number, your business has an EIN. Whenever possible, we want to borrow or access capital under your business's EIN. And part of that is how is its business credit worthiness. So we can help you build that out if you've not already done so. And there's no charge. We're not selling that. We're just saying that that's about a $3,000 value if you were to do that on your own. Very good. Who else has a question that I can assist with? All right, Sanya's asking about the career opportunities, which really isn't our topic right now. But yes, Sanya, I certainly encourage you to go through the workforce grant-based training. You can complete that. Jennifer can assist you in that process. And if you'd like to be involved with helping teach and advise small businesses, we need help. We're growing quickly. And Sanya, we'd love to have you as part of the team. Who else has any questions that I can address? We got a dial-in caller from a 912 area code, and so I don't see their name. But for you, on your question, what's next? Well, certainly, if you can review this information and decide how you want to get started, then that's the easiest. Worst case scenario, you can come back to the general contact us page. All right, well, I think we covered it all in just about 30 minutes. Thank you so much for your time and your interest. We look forward to assisting you and maybe even collaborating to help others. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye-bye.